Hello, 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 beautiful people. We are back and we are going to do something that we haven't done before. We're going to do a live Q&A. I am Leah C. Murphy, the CEO of Career Jumps for the Journey, where we help talented professionals build thriving careers. And we are excited to do this Q&A with you because it felt like it was a good time to make that happen. So as you guys can see, we're in a different format. We're bringing you guys something that's a little bit more just honest at this moment, right? Normally I have a full studio set up and you guys can see where I normally record in the background. If you're watching me live on LinkedIn or if you're watching me live on YouTube, you see that our studio space is right behind me. And today we just decided to come from a different part of the studio because you guys had some questions that you submitted online and I needed to have multiple screens to be able to address all the questions and keep up with it. And I was trying to do it in another way. I said, listen, we're not going to stress ourselves out. We're going to make sure that we give people what they're looking for. And this is the right place to be able to do it from. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are with us right now live, if you are listening on the replay, I love that for you. I love it for me too. The replay has been doing some really exciting and amazing things. So I appreciate all of you who are sharing the information on the replay and distributing it and tagging your friends on the content that we're sharing because it makes a huge difference in how people get access to this information. And that is why we do this work. So I am also in preparation for the Pennsylvania Conference for Women. So the Pennsylvania Conference for Women will be hosted in Philadelphia this Thursday. If you're going to be there, you can join us, stop by, see us at booth 251. This is our second time as a vendor at the Pennsylvania Conference for Women. It is an event that normally hosts over 10,000 women, and we wanted to make sure that we were in the place because I started going to the Pennsylvania Conference for Women as a professional years and years ago. So now to bring it full circle and to be there as a vendor and have an opportunity to connect the work that we do with the individuals who may need our support, it really does make all the world of difference to be in an environment that feels familiar and that feels really aligned with the goals and objectives that we have here over Career Jumps for the Journey. So if you are going to be at the Pennsylvania Conference for Women, which is this Thursday, come stop by and see us at booth 251. And I would love to be able to connect with you. There's going to be some games. There's going to be some giveaways. There's going to be books to buy. There is going to be an opportunity to connect with me and my team live and in person. So take advantage of that. So we're trying to give you guys just an opportunity to ask real, tangible, intentional questions as we think about just coming out of this layoff to lift off series and just generally the work that we've been doing, the information that we've been able to put out over the last year or so has been meaty, right? It's been substantive. And sometimes just being able to ask questions from your own lens, formulate your own thoughts as you're digesting everything that we're sharing and putting out and you're putting it into practice, then there's a chance where you're like, okay, well, I want to understand this a little bit better from my unique perspective or for me as an individual. So we wanted to create a space for that. You'll also be able to do a little bit of that at the Pennsylvania Conference for Women when we see you in person. So take advantage. Use the resources that are at your disposal. A lot of people go to that conference. A lot of women go to that conference. A lot of companies are sponsoring you to go to the conference. So go and make the most of the time that you have there. Now, when I put out the call and I said, we're going to have a Q&A session, I had a lot of people on LinkedIn that were excited about participating in the Q&A session. And then we opened up the email box to say, if you have specific questions and you want to submit them ahead of time, please do that. You can also join us live and submit your questions in the chat, in the comment section. This is a new format for us, so work with us as we figure out how to make this work and how to make sure that it feels like a value proposition for everyone. And oftentimes, the people who ask the questions are really taking the weight off of folks who are listening and not asking any questions because they want to, but they're not sure how to formulate it, or maybe they just don't have the time and space to be able to ask questions. But the people who actually submit them and come off mute, right, during those times, we've all been in big conference halls when someone says, does anyone have a question? And, we're kind of waiting for somebody to break that silence or waiting to build up our own confidence and formulate the question in our own mind. I know that happens to me. I don't know if that happens to everybody else, but there were some folks that submitted questions via email. And I was like, yes, thank you so much, because that means that you had kind of been waiting for an opportunity to ask these questions, and I'm here for it. So this will be as long as short of a live as you all need it to be, considering the number of questions that we got asked. We have about 5 questions that got submitted, which I think is pretty exciting. And then as folks, join us and kind of trickle in and spend more time with us on the live side, I will answer those comments answer those questions in the comments. So no formal content that we're going to share for you today, just answering your questions. So now we're going to just get into it. And the funny thing was, the first question that I got was really essentially the way I would categorize it was that it was just a personal connection question. So someone who had been following the content for a while and just wanted to know a little bit more about me personally and how I kind of came to do this work. And I thought, oh, that makes a lot of sense, right? We want to make sure that we feel connected to the people that we are spending time with, even if we're spending time with them digitally in a digital arena. So their question was around just like personally, how did I come to do this work? And the follow-up to it was like I mentioned anecdotally that, I have a family and they just wanted to understand how my family life influences my work life. And I thought that was an interesting question. So what I may not have shared before, and some of you may have heard, because I try to be as honest, as transparent about this as possible, but I do try to really protect my family and my loved ones because they didn't choose to do this work, right? They are living their own lives. So I try not to bring them into it. Although you guys did see my husband on the husband takeover of our lives. So you have seen my husband. We've been married for 16 years. We have 3 children. And they are 13 and 9. We have identical twin boys. So I'm a mother of multiples and a mother of a singleton. So my family is really important to me. They are, a source of inspiration and also a source of keeping me grounded in what I do on a regular basis and why I think it's really important for me to create spaces for people who are navigating their professional lives as well as balancing other obligations. And whether my obligations are my family in my household, but I also have obligations for people who don't live in my household. And that's a big part of why I do the work that I do and the way that I do it. So yeah, that's just a little bit about my family life. Now, what I will say is I'm also an engineer by training. So I like to solve complicated problems. And sometimes those problems are equipment, sometimes those problems are processes, sometimes those problems are related to people. So I just like to think about solving problems and kind of going into work around professional development and business helps me to solve business problems through people and systems. So it's just where it feels right to me. And I find that I can bring a lot of value to the space. And a lot of the other folks who are doing this work, which I have a lot of respect for, just come from different disciplines, different parts of business. So I always feel like there's something to add from a unique perspective. And I try to bring that to the work that I do. I'll also say, and you didn't ask this, but maybe it's worthwhile to share because it's important. This is the second business that I started. I had partners where I was in a different business, and that business absolutely failed, to be honest. It failed. We lost money. We pivoted. We tried to make modifications to the business, and it just didn't work. The timing wasn't aligned. It wasn't something that we were going to be able to execute. So I just like to be honest about that because entrepreneurship is not a straight line. And it took me failing at that business to then build a business in Career Jumps for the Journey that really does have all the parts and portions that are necessary in order for me to be successful in the way that I see fit, in order for me to serve the population of people that I believe I'm here to serve. So that's something else that I may not have shared in the past. So the other question is, and I'm just looking at my other screen here, is talk about just spending more of the time on LinkedIn and then expanding into the YouTube space. Like what made me make that change? I'm gonna be honest with you, social media as a whole for me is just not a strong point. And not because I can't, and not because I don't believe that it's important and valuable. I see content creators and individuals who are just like really phenomenal and that I'm influenced by and that, continue to stand in really important places to give perspective and to give substantive information. So I consider myself a content creator. But as far as my consumption of social media generally, I just have a hard time with it because I try to work really hard to be invested and really present in my real life. And I find that for me, when I'm spending a lot of time on social media, I feel like disconnected a little bit from my real life and from what the day to day is. So I do LinkedIn Live and I do YouTube Live and I do the other social media platforms because that is where I believe the population is that I'm supposed to serve. So I come here for you all. I come here to hear from you. I come here to make sure that there is real evidence-based information that's being put out in the ethos, that real gems from somebody who has not only lived experience, professional experience, but also helps people solve these problems every day behind the scenes. So I come here and I'm on these platforms for you. I could probably be off somewhere, reading a book or thinking about some kind of complex problem that I, think deserves my attention. And I do that too. But I also come here live to make sure that I spend time with you and that you get an opportunity to have access to what I think is valuable information. And then you can go and apply that to your life and your career so that you can thrive. So that's why I moved over to YouTube. That's why I spend the time on LinkedIn. And hopefully you guys still think that it's valuable. I would love for you to drop in the comments if you are joining me on YouTube or on LinkedIn Live, just which platform that you are consuming this media in, because it tells me a lot about who's doing the work, who is here, who feels like they're getting the right investment, and that matters a lot to me. So the other question was around, there's a lot of people who are, and I'm paraphrasing, or I can read the question. Right now, there's a lot of people who are out of work and experiencing a ton of rejection or getting ghosted. What advice do you have for people who may be navigating being out of work, navigating layoff or separation, right? So we just came out of the series. So here's what I'll say. I personally got laid off, and I've said this before. I've gotten laid off. My husband got laid off. Some of my closest friends have gotten laid off. Many of my clients have gotten laid off throughout our corporate careers. And I kind of find it to be now just a part of the way business works. So I try to do my best to shine a light on normalizing that getting laid off is kind of a part of the process in the 2025 era of business. Now, everybody doesn't have that as their story, but I think I shared before that about 7 in 10 people have experienced some form of layoff or underemployment throughout their career. So that's a lot of people, right? So there's a lot of people who have experienced some form of separation, and that's going to continue to grow. And some of that I think is just driven by stock market and Wall Street and investors and wanting to see changes, dramatic shifts in stock price for publicly traded companies. So some of it has nothing to do with you. Some of it is just the cycle of business. And I know sometimes that doesn't feel good to hear because you're trying to figure out what's the next phase for you and your own livelihood and your own career trajectory. Right? It's disorienting. It can be disorienting. So I just try to normalize that layoffs happen and they're a part of many, many careers. Not everyone, but many. And that I believe that there's something that we all can learn from the experience and figure out where we want to reinvest our time and energy. So for those of you who are navigating layoffs, I can empathize with you like from a personal level. And I hope that the work that we're doing here at Career Gems for the Journey is helpful to kind of guide you in the right direction for where to go next, where to invest your time and energy next, whether it's looking for a new role, whether it's navigating relationship building and networking, whether it's reaching out to recruiters. We've gone over all of those topics if you're thinking about finding a new job. If you're not thinking about finding a new job and you're trying to figure out other ways to be able to grow and develop, or even other ways to be able to make money, and you want to start working for yourself, or you want to start a business, or you want to become an investor, all of those things we've kind of talked about and covered in previous lives or on the Career Gems for the Journey podcast. So you can certainly take advantage of those resources because I'm here for all of it. I'm here for seeing a layoff opportunity, seeing a layoff as an opportunity to reset and reprioritize. But I also understand that there are real financial implications to being out of work for a period of time. And that kind of sets a fire under us to make some decisions quickly. And if there's some way that I can support you as you're navigating your layoff, please do reach out. Hit me up, especially if you're navigating getting laid off from a federal job, and there's a change in the administration that has changed your ability to find work. I said, I think in like April, when we started to hear that lots of changes were going to be made, that if you have been laid off from a federal role and you're looking for support, that I would be willing to support you and give you as much perspective and as much support as I could. And I want to do that pro bono for some federal workers. So that still stands. That was in April when I said it, but I'll stand on it now, probably all the way into the end of the year. So that is why I think layoffs are happening. I think they're more frequent than they were before. And I also think, industries that we thought were safe are no longer these safe havens. And, honestly, there are some people and some perspectives of folks who are coming into recognizing that being laid off is a part of a lot of careers, and they're getting to that for the first time. They may have been thinking, 10 years ago, if you got laid off that you're damaged goods, or, what's the problem? There's this gap in resume. And I'm actually encouraged that the tide is going to shift on the opinion that people who have been laid off are not great assets still that you can bring into your organization that may be considered in any different way. So I'm actually happy that the tide is shifting. I'm not happy on the how that it's shifting and why it's happening, but I'm happy that the tide is shifting. So the next question was around, have I ever experienced rejection and what advice do I have? And man, when I read this, I laughed because I experienced so much rejection throughout my life, throughout my career, and throughout my business. It's probably to the point where it doesn't even have, I don't have words to be able to explain the quantity of rejection I feel like I've experienced, because I am someone who is willing to take risk. So I'm someone who has learned to take calculated risk over time. And because I've learned to take calculated risk, that risk comes with, the risk of rejection. And I also think that rejection is redirection, and we've done podcasts on that. So rejection is just an opportunity for you to get more information and then figure out how to apply it somewhere else. But I took a note here, and it was learning to recover from rejection really changed my life and my business, because knowing that and recover is the optimal word there. There was a period of time where I would get rejected, and then I would feel like I need to reevaluate my plan or start over, or there was all of these internal thoughts, all of this inner critic work that would start to bubble up really high when I experienced rejection. Once I learned how to recover from it and recover from it quickly, it allowed me to then go further in pursuing the vision or the dream or the business goal, the personal goal, the objective that I had, because I understand that rejection is just a part of the process. And I had to learn that. It took me a really long time. But now I'm at the point where people tell me no, and I'm like, okay, thank you, I appreciate it. I have to go talk to the next person, because I know that the yes is somewhere out here. And it's up to me to get the reps up, to spend enough time talking to the right people, getting to the right tables, participating in the right negotiation. And if you're rejecting me at this stage, either you're not the right person or it's not the right time, right? Or this is not the right negotiation, or it's just not the right time. So that's the way that I've been able to kind of coach myself through navigating rejection. And that applies to applying for jobs. That applies to business relationships, partnerships, collaboration. That applies to awards and recognition, whatever you want to apply it to. Either you're not the right person, this is not the right negotiation, or this is not the right time. So I try to think about it that way, and that just gives me a level of rolls off my back from a rejection perspective. It's not that I'm not disappointed and that I'm not frustrated. It's just that I know that it's a part of the process, and it's actually helped me to become a better business owner, to become a better coach, to become a better partner. So just navigating all of those things and experiencing rejection and not having it take me completely off course has just taught me so much about myself. And it is very frustrating, early on to navigate the rejection, especially when we get our hopes up and we're really invested in something, or we see something that we want. So I just think about it as redirection, and that the timing needs to change. And when the time is right, I'll get the yes that I'm supposed to have. So hopefully that is helpful when you think about navigating rejection. And at the same time, there's the reality of when you experience rejection, you have to pick yourself back up and you have to get back to whatever it was, your goal, your vision. That's why I really encourage folks to have a vision or a goal that's a little bit bigger than you, bigger than today, bigger than this year, because that'll keep you motivated. That vision, that momentum of this broader thing that has a potential to change your life and the lives of others will keep you motivated during the times where you are getting rejected by a hiring manager or you're getting rejected by somebody who's in an HR function. And I've just seen it come to fruition time and time again. I've had clients that were really interested in one job and we prepped for it and we set ourselves up and we did everything we felt like we needed to do in order for them to be successful. And then they didn't get that job. It didn't work out and they were really frustrated. And then inevitably at some window of time later, whether it's a year, whether it's 18 months, whether it's 6 months later, a different opportunity manifests itself. And that's because we had already done the work and they were already positioned well. So the right yes came their direction. So I just apply that to myself and to business all the time. So we're at 20 minutes here. So I'm just going to capture these last two because I thought that these were funny to me. So the first one was, what is your best career advice? And I'm like, how could I possibly choose? Like, how could I possibly choose? I feel like we give career advice, and strategies every day when we're here. But if I had to pick one, it comes down to, don't be married to the idea that your career has to look one way. Each journey is unique. And the moment we kind of embrace that our journey belongs to us, and we can't necessarily do a side-by-side comparison from our experience to somebody else, it frees us up for all the potential to get what we want from our career or get what we need from our career. And then the rest of the things that we are trying to do or trying to work on can have the opportunity to fall into place. So it doesn't have to look one way. Your journey is unique. It's just for you. And your journey will get you to the destination that you're supposed to arrive at when you're supposed to get there. That's just a belief system. So I apply that to career, but we talk about career advice every day. So, and I also don't believe in tips or hacks. I believe that you have to put in the work in order to get to the results. And sometimes that's internal work. Sometimes that's mindset work. Sometimes that's relationship building work. But I believe that you have to put in the work. Hacks or tricks imply that there is a shortcut to getting there. And there's no shortcut to your destination. It's your journey. So that is my best career advice. Let your journey work for you. And then the last one was, do you have any business advice for people who are interested in maybe starting their own business or starting an entrepreneurial endeavor? And this is one that I don't talk about nearly as much because I am still very much growing in my own entrepreneurial journey. So I don't think that I've arrived, and I get asked a lot of business questions because people have seen me build this business over the last few years. And I think, it's kind of an honor that people think, oh, well, you must be doing well. So let me get your advice. It just tells you that, people feel like they're connected to me, and that actually is more heartwarming to me. So rather than rambling on, I wrote myself a note when I saw this question. And the note was, business advice is pay people well and pay them on time. As a business owner and as someone who partners and collaborates with other business owners, the best advice that I can give you if you are starting out, or even if you're doing well and your business is operating well, is to pay people on time and to pay them well. And the reason why for that may be obvious, but I'm just going to take a nugget off of it and we can go deeper into this if this is something that you're interested in, because I see that some folks have joined us. We can go deeper into it, but I say to pay people on time first because I never want to create a gap between people being able to live their life and do the work that they have committed to doing for me. So people need money. People need the money. They need their money. They need it when they need it, and why they need it at that time is none of your concern. If you committed to paying somebody, pay them on time, because it just builds credibility. It establishes a level of respect and relationship between you and the people that work for you. So pay people and pay people on time. And then I'll put on top of it the pay them well. I think that because I have had such an amazing team of people who supported my business, those who have supported my business as at the very, very beginning, the day ones, where there was an opportunity, even when we weren't making a lot of money as a company, we tried to make sure that we paid people well and fairly. And I have seen that just greases the wheels to ideation, to better relationships, to better partnerships, to people being willing to go the extra mile, to people be willing to challenge me and help the business get better and to grow. I've just seen the results of that in my business so much that it's something that I will do for forever. And I just believe it's good karma to put out into the universe. I personally am of the belief that money is not something that I am attached to. I believe that it's a tool in order to live the life that I have been assigned to live, like to do what God has called me to do. So I use money as a tool, and I try not to get too bogged down into keeping myself tied up in how much money I'm moving through my day to day. I try to make sure that if I give away a lot of money and I'm generous with a lot of things for the right reasons in business, that the right things will come back to me. So I just use that as a practice, and it has served me well. It also just means sometimes there will be L's that will be taken. I will take losses. There will be people who don't have the same level of priority or integrity or whatever those things are. And I have to make peace with that, because most of the time it's worked in my favor up until now, and I believe it'll continue to work. And those outliers, I wish them the best. So that was all the questions that got submitted to us via email. If you have any more that you want to share, maybe we'll come back and do this again. You're going to see a significant change to what's happening here on the LinkedIn Live as well as on the YouTube Live, actually coming in 2026. My team and I have some really exciting things that are shifting as we are navigating being much more engaged in in-person events and in-person work. You're going to see a shift here. So we'll be making some announcements. And I want to make sure that I just send a quick reminder. I'm going to be at the Pennsylvania Conference for Women this week in Philadelphia at the Convention Center, and we'll be at booth 251. You can come and connect with me in person. I can answer some questions there too. And then tickets are available for the Career and Care Summit. I'm not sure if I'm pointing the right way. It's either here or here that you will find the QR code. Grab your ticket today to the Career and Care Summit. It's another in-person opportunity to really engage and build community as we navigate this second act of life. It is specifically hosted March 21st, 2026 at the Community College of Philadelphia with your career and your development in mind. We want to talk about the total person. And we're celebrating it with Women's History Month. Lots of employers have been clear that they are looking for Women's History Month programming. So you may be able to take advantage of getting your employer to purchase your ticket to the Career and Care Summit. So it might not be any excuse not to go. If your employer is not purchasing, you absolutely should make the investment in yourself. I am biased because I'm behind the scenes planning and developing it, but we are going to actually exceed our own goals that we set from last year, the time that we're together. And I'm just so excited for that. And again, it's another in-person opportunity for us to be able to build community in person and to carry over what we've built online. So until then, please continue to make your journey work for you. I will not be going live again until the middle of October. So you guys will see that update when we're coming back. I'll be traveling and just out of the office for a period of time. So you will see some content that we have drummed up for you and that we've designed for you for while I'm out. But until I get back, we won't be live. So I look forward to hearing from you and seeing all of you when we reconnect in October. Until then, make your journey work for you.